Greetings, Geekscapists and everyone in Geekscape Nation. Welcome to the third installment of the Geekscape Book Club. I am Christian Bladt. Today, we will be discussing Moon Knight, the Complete Collection, which is a bit of a misnomer because it's 14 issues from 2016. Beautiful. Michael holding up a copy of an Archie digest, which no doubt he got at the local supermarket. With me, as always, is the one, the only Michael X Shirley. Michael, say hello to our visual and audio only listeners. And of course, also with us, as always, the one, the only Kaitlin Cornell. Thank you so much for being here. And for the first foray into the Geekscape Book Club, our friend Jeff Williams Jr. Hello, Jeff.
What's up? What's up? Thanks for having me. Excited to talk Moon Knight.
Absolutely. I think, well, I know I'm excited to talk Moon Knight. I don't want to speak on behalf of anyone else, but I think that it's important to let people know that the four of us actually work together somewhat regularly, along with Eric Connor, who is on our second episode, the Doctor Strange Way of the Weird. We do a show on my YouTube channel called Marvel Movie Talk. So if you hear us making fun of each other, just know it's because we're practically family. So I want to just give each of us an opportunity, because this is a different audience, just to kind of a basically one sentence overall thought on the Moon Knight TV series, because that's the jumping off point for talking about this show. Michael, just to summarize, what did you think of the Moon Knight TV series? I do want to go with you first, because I know what your answer is, because I've done shows with you before. Go ahead.
I mean, if you like movies like Indiana Jones or like Jungle Cruise or like whatever, you'll love
or a
Moon
melding
Knight.
of the two.
Yeah, exactly. But since you don't really like those things, let's just say it wasn't your favorite.
Maybe mix in with just a tiny bit of Sucker Punch. And I mean that in a good way.
I can tell you meant it in a good way. What about you, Kate? What did you think of the Moon Knight TV series?
I like that it was separate from everything Marvel has done so far. I like that it was kind of in its own world and its own story. I thought it was expertly acted and very well written. But I felt like they lost their story at a certain point. So I'm excited to, or they tried to wrap it up too quickly, as it were. Right. So I was excited to read where it was based off of, to see if I got a different vibe out of it.
Right. And Jeff, your thoughts on the whole on the Moon Knight Disney Plus 6-episode miniseries, possibly season 1, but possibly the only episodes we ever get. We'll see.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. There was a lot of cool moments, but to what Michael was saying, there's a lot of Indiana Jones kind of corny moments. It kind of got slow at sometimes, because we were talking about Layla's father, who never became relevant. But
Nope.
But either way, it had its good moments. It had its bad moments.
Relevant to me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But it's just character. Funny. Looking back on it, it's good. It's just cool to see. It's interesting to see what changes they made and how they decided to make an iteration off of this comic.
Right. And my thoughts on the whole were, if you took Oscar Isaac out of it, it would have not been as easy to watch. I thought he was fantastic. The character of
definitely
Stephen Grant,
a little easy on the eyes.
I mean, just like all three of the gentlemen here assembled on the show, Oscar Isaac would obviously place fourth to all of us. But yes, he is a decent looking fella, I suppose. But yeah, I also thought that he was great, even as the character of Stephen Grant, who early in the series really annoyed me. Much less annoying here in the comic. But I had fun with it. I was just surprised how many people, as it turned out, really didn't like it, as I've talked to since it finished. So, what's that, Jeff?
It's just kind of funny to me. I didn't have a problem with Stephen when I was watching it the first time. I was like, okay, he's cool. He's got kind of corny. He's trying to figure out what's going on. So are we. I read the comic, and he's like a movie director. He's cool. Like, he's like rich and stuff. I'm like, what in the Like, we just
Yeah.
got gypped, so I understand where the frustration was with a lot of the fans at first. And I'm like, this is not the Stephen Grant I know. I'm like, what is going on?
No, and I think that he's not that different from Mark Spector in that he's cool and he's self-confident. So I think, having a different version of that. Yeah.
100%.
Well, let's sort of go in reverse order now, Jeff. So reading these 14 issues, which this is the 2016 Moon Knight there, the problem with comics these days is that you can't just say issue 1 through 14, because in the last decade there have been several Moon Knight number ones. There was one just earlier this year. So this is a very specific, this is the Lemire Smallwood Bellaire, as it says on the cover.
It's volume 8.
Yeah, volume 8. Yeah, exactly. But what did you think of these stories, Jeff? Which I think it's important before I actually let you answer the question I just asked you. When we approached doing this for the book club, we were going to do the first 6 issues, which was called Lunatic, but it was such a small part of the story, and also that collected volume is not widely available anymore. They want you to pay for 14 issues instead of 6. So that was the reason why we ended up focusing on so much of it. Anyway, Jeff, your thoughts as you read these 14 issues of Moon Knight.
Yeah, and when I accepted to be on the show, I was under the impression it was just going to be those 6 as well. So when I was looking on Amazon,
we all were.
I'm like, this is interesting. This is 14. This is not right.
Yeah, no, that is more than 6. Yeah, 14 is greater than 6. Yeah.
Just like I've never read 14 books so fast.
I was like, you know what? We gonna do it for the show. That's what we're gonna do.
Who says that you can't learn anything from comics? We learned math, guys. That's 14 is definitely more than 6.
And you learn something today. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna learn. No, but I really enjoyed the comic because I've only heard great things about it, and this was so I was really excited to read it, especially after watching the show. And then, but like, to be honest, I was confused at the beginning. They were jumping in between characters and then also putting them in similar scenes. I didn't really understand who was the main Mark. Well, now I know Mark Spector, but like I didn't know who was the main person at first. I didn't, because in the show it starts with Stephen Grant. In the comic it starts with Mark, but then we go into Stephen and it goes into Jake. There was a lot of jumping for me and I was very confused. But once we got towards the end and Mark literally not sits everybody down, but stand like pretty much like breaks it down to everybody.
Company
I caught
meeting.
Up just with I caught up just as long as everybody else did. So like I thought it was it pretty much made everything make sense to me, and I really enjoyed the comic. Like most of you guys know, I'm newer to the comic book, so I like reading it after I'm learning about the characters. So I thought it was really cool and really fun to learn.
Yeah, and I've heard a rumor that you're reading every Morbius comic book ever written just to get yourself up to speed. Kaitlin, what did you think? Just for fun. Kaitlin, what did you think of these 14 issues, the complete collection, as it were?
Not as good as Morbius. I'm so psyched for the second theater release.
That's gonna be great.
That's gonna be great. No, I thought it was some of the more beautiful comic art that I've seen in terms of also like coming out of Way of the Weird and how much text was in the art. Sometimes it distracted from the art that was being presented, and I felt like the lettering, and I know Michael pays attention to this too. Like how the beautiful the lettering was within the color and the art itself. Everything felt like it was harmonious and it told the story together. And I could still enjoy everything and the world building without being distracted by reading a story. I was seeing a story, and it was like almost like watching a silent film where it's like the text kind of just supported the image as opposed to the image supporting the text. And in that sense, it was really, really cool. I was also kind of like super confused of how much it was going in between, like, is this real or is this not real? And am I being gaslit right now? And I felt like I was being like re-traumatized every time the stupid doctor was like, no, you hit me. It was not real. Like, you're not Moon Knight. It's okay. I'm like, but he is, but he's not. I don't know. And I'm scared. I also read half of it on a plane, which was not the way to go. That was my thoughts. Thoughts over. Uh-oh.
Michael?
No, I was trying to do something and couldn't turn my
No.
mic back on because I was trying to do something else. It's all right.
Trying to be
I'll get to
cool.
it in a moment.
I was like, do I feel time with a
No,
dance
that's all right.
number?
Yeah.
Like, what's
I would
happening?
have given you the old stretch symbol. Michael, your overall thoughts on Moon Knight? Like myself, I believe you in the past had read some Moon Knight comics. For me personally,
No.
I had not read a comic that he had appeared in since he was a member of Avengers West Coast. So not in the 21st century had I read a Moon Knight story. How much had you read before this of Moon Knight?
Nothing. No, nothing. I only knew about Moon Knight because
Love you,
from
Michael.
the very beginning, like 1994, when I started collecting the comic cards, he was in the very first set that I got. So that's how I knew about him and what his background was like, which was very different back in the mid 90s than it was now.
So
Yeah,
cool.
and for our visual listeners, I'm just sort of giving a quick representation of, I believe the broken nose was Mark, but don't hold me to it.
Yeah.
Just speaking with Khonshu, and I think that just some of the
It says
visuals.
Mark right there.
Yeah. Well, I can't. I don't have my glasses on. How am I going to know?
Yeah, it says right there.
So diving into this, Michael, after the TV show. How do you think it compared? Was it less Indiana Jonesy or the same amount for you?
Yeah.
What did you think of the comic?
It was intergalactic.
I did like that.
Yeah, they definitely leave Egypt.
Void.
We talked a little bit about it. I didn't love all of this. It's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay that, I don't like
it's okay to think
it.
it's only okay,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
otherwise we would have gotten him way sooner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's not like the fan favorite, like
Mm-hmm.
a true Avenger that you see constantly reoccurring. Although he has had a lot of books about him. I was really shocked when I was looking up what volume this was, and it was 8, and I just was kind of like, well, why doesn't he have a bigger following? Having been around for so long. But the first 2 issues I did really enjoy.
Yeah.
And then it was like there were too many people clogging up the pipes, and at a certain point I had to kind of make a decision not to invest too much thoughts in all the crazy people that were friends with him.
Yeah.
And it's very much this way, that way, just kind of almost garbage, muffled, just static noise when you're trying to figure out what's going on, because it is Kaitlin said, super confusing. But they lose me until they kind of break free and they get to was it Gail's Diner? Is that her name?
Yeah.
I think so. But
yeah,
they introduce Gail to be the negative, and then she's like, "Cool, I believe you, but I'm gonna stay here."
Yeah. There's some interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, there's stones left unturned, and then there's stones that are turned over repeatedly throughout the course of these 14 issues.
Yeah, so they kind of got me back in the middle, when they escaped this place. And I'll say, I really, really liked the psychiatrist because, on the other end of the spectrum, we have Ethan Hawke. So I was really, really pleased with this character, and maybe it's because I've never seen that character before, and when you see Ethan Hawke, you just associate him with everything except an Egyptian god. So,
well, you immediately associate him with Reality Bites. It's very hard to it's very hard to go from there and think of him as the avatar for an Egyptian god.
Because he's walking on.
I was very vocal about how much I disliked him in that show.
Sure.
On our other podcasts, but I did get a kick out of her goons too, the 2 little lackeys that just lived to beat the crap out of him. It's they woke up every day.
Yeah.
What are
I
their
said, was
names?
it Billy and Bobby? Billy and
I believe
Bobby.
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
Billy and
yeah,
Bobby.
yeah.
Yeah, that they were basically
Mhm.
there.
It's like they
Uh,
woke up every day with like, oh man, I get to kick the crap out of that guy. Today's gonna be a great day.
Yeah.
It was kind of like it was
And,
like
like,
they just
sometimes
lived for it.
Characters just need to do that.
Yeah.
Well, it was
Like, you don't have to give them a backstory. You don't have to explain like why they're there. It's just like,
you know,
I
they
wish
were
they did that with Layla.
they were kind of the two, because their back and forth is so like through two stooges, like just kind of like goofy.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
kind of helped me realize that they weren't like real people. You know,
Mhm.
they were part of the reason that kind of I was able to kind of see through some of the garbage too, after I was like blocking out all his like crazy friends.
Right.
But by the end, I told, well, I don't know. You'll probably want to ask later what our favorite part was, but
Yeah, we'll definitely go for the highs and the lows.
my favorite part was in the last issue. I'll say that though.
In the last
cool.
issue.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, I really thought that these were great stories. I agree with Kaitlin 100%. She and I had traded messages just about just the visuals, just how great it looked, and you know, it's this medium really. You know, it can go either way. You know, there we talked the last month when we discussed Way of the Weird. Some of the art looked great, and a lot of it just left something to be desired. I thought that this was great. So even when the story maybe was moving in a direction where I was like, didn't we just do this already? You know, there was like one time too many we went back to Stephen Grant for me, but it was also it didn't really take away from it that much. I just felt like, all right, I mean, I know we're padding out 14 issues here, but we could try to move it along a little bit. But in any case, I really enjoyed the story. I think that the asylum part, the lunatic part, was handled much better than it was on television. But of course, that wasn't the starting point for the television show, you know. So they took. I was going to say that's what this made me feel, is like we should have definitely started out there. It was an interesting little way of like, oh, Stephen works in this gift shop at a museum. Okay. But it'd be more interesting if we were going sort of mind bendy and all that, the way that this did. And I think that this was less confusing having already seen the show, but still fairly confusing early on. But that's the thing about comics, is that sometimes they, because it's sales driven, they probably should, but sometimes they're not afraid of at the end of the episode just being like, that's all right if you don't know. And I did kind of like that about the TV show. It was at the first episode, it was like, oh, you got a lot of questions. I guess you're going to have to tune in next week.
I thought that was just called a cliffhanger.
Yeah, but I mean, usually the first issue, the first episode, a lot of times you have a much better idea as to what's going on than in either of these two iterations of Moon Knight that we're talking about.
Because they want to get you hooked so you can like buy more. So you can get confused later, but not up front.
Right, exactly. So let's Michael, you brought it up. Let's start with our favorite parts, and because you brought it up, Michael, what was your favorite? We'll spend as much time as you want on your least favorite, but what was your favorite part?
Oh my God, yay.
Yeah, my favorite part was at the very end when he like crushes Khonshu's head and it's over.
So because it was the
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not as high tech as some people in terms of like just finding it. And and then it also alternated. I like that we actually got some Jake in here. I know that they saved Jake for the TV show the way that they did, but I would have liked to have gotten more Jake. But you know what? I think that would have been too confusing for people. They're like, let's just keep it to two personalities, and then maybe one day we'll get to deal with all three of them. Kate, what was your favorite part of the story?
Honestly, I really liked getting into the beginning and seeing the art and him walking up to the temple. I know that's probably like a cliche moment, but I loved the moment of like just seeing the whole art and diving into the world, because I was like a little worried after Way of the Weird that it would be more of a fight. Yeah, that's it. I opened it and I was just like I was on the library app. But it was, which is actually for people who want access to these comics and don't either like to pay for the hardcover copy or go to like a store or have it in their collection because they have too many comics or Funkos or whatever,
Sure.
the library app is a really good resource for getting some of these comics. And I know that they have a comic book of the month club like we do. And last month was Way of the Weird in honor of Doctor Strange.
Nice.
So they have all of them. And for people in the Los Angeles area, check if you're not in Los Angeles, but your library card should get you access to an internet database. So check it out, your local library.
Doesn't work everywhere.
And if it's not, what's that, Michael?
Work everywhere.
Doesn't work everywhere.
Doesn't work everywhere.
A good option, for these stories, and we've talked about it before, is that you can get Marvel Unlimited, which yes, you have to pay for, but the thousands of comics you have access to, and to keep it sort of a bipartisan approach to this, there is also DC Universe Infinite. I almost called it the wrong thing. DC Universe Infinite, which we'll factor into what we're reading for our next conversation, but we'll get to that at the end of the show. So these services, I think that they cost, somewhere around $10 to $15 a month, but it's so much more value than you get out of Netflix, just in terms of the, hundreds of thousands of stories that you can have access to. And I promise you, they're all better written than a lot of the things that you might find.
And none of them are Queen's Gambit, which is...
None of them are Queen's Gambit. That's true.
I was
but not a no-no show.
Exactly. I guess that's no fans.
That was with Anna Taylor-Joy, who played Magic in New Mutants. So if you want better New Mutants stories than the movie, you can find lots and lots and lots of them on Marvel Unlimited. Jeff, what was your favorite part?
So I like stuff that I didn't see in the TV show. So I really enjoyed seeing Steven as the director in the behind the scenes and shooting more Moon Knight on the Marvel Studios set. I thought that was really meta, and I really love how that was in the comic book. And then also, I really like my introduction to Bushman. I thought that was a cool fight and kind of story that was different than the rest of the stories. I thought it was kind of something like I mentioned, something I hadn't seen from the show, and then also something that was kind of different from all of the same storylines that we kind of seem to be kind of going in a circle with. But I thought those are my two highlights.
Yeah, for me, I think it was, because it was completely unexpected, was the Moon Knight intergalactic planetary battle. I thought that this was just man, this is so crazy and over the top. I'm like, oh, this is great. If they had wanted to spend more time on it.
How many did so in the comic they ended up having 5, right? Because there was Moon Knight, there was Jake, there was Mark, Steven, Mark again. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I believe so.
I was like, that's what I was just making sure. But I caught up. So
yeah, no, and go ahead, Michael. Sorry, go ahead.
Mark was thinking he was different things, like this movie director or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it almost felt like you were watching two people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I don't know. I thought that that was just cool because it was again completely unexpected. The bit that I knew about the character, the way I was approaching this story, I was not expecting to get that aspect of it in there, But Jeff, was there a least favorite portion of the story for you?
A least favorite? Not really a least favorite. At the beginning, like I mentioned, I was just confused. There was for me, it was a lot of jumping in the beginning, and not too much that I understood, but I didn't have a least favorite. I just felt like the beginning was kind of confusing, and there's ways to have made it easier, but at the end, I felt like it wrapped well enough for it made sense for the beginning to be confusing. If that makes sense. It justified it, I guess.
Yeah, no, I thought that I agree. Something that Michael said earlier was that there was so many supporting characters and things, and they're tied to somebody like Frenchie is tied to his backstory, and it's okay, but there were so many of them. and I just didn't care about the diner. And
Exactly.
you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
it was like I needed to be more attached to that character to care about that. So I think that I felt like that dragged the story down a little bit. And it's like, I got to save your soul. I'm like, do you? You know, he willingly gave it up, you know. But
Same with Crawley. I had to look up.
yeah, that's
who
what I was talking about. Crowley.
again.
Sorry. Yeah, I forgot to
And
identify which character I was speaking about. Yeah.
and like I looked up, I was like, who was he in the film and the TV show? And he was like the meme guy that was like gold or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's cool that they incorporated him, but like it's just another character in the story when we're already dealing with multiple Mark Spectors.
What about you, Michael, in terms of low points in the story, least favorite? What stood out for you? Of like, was there anything where you just threw your hands up and were just like, "Oh, come on"?
Well, that started when they were like running around trying to get out of this place, and I'm just thinking, leave them, just like leave them all. But when the whole space things happen, I was definitely like, all right, I'm walking away from this for a minute. Like, this is just not. This isn't how I. This is just what is going on here. You know, I don't even really. I still don't even really know what to say about all that. It was just too much.
So, was that really what it was, though? Sorry, 1 second, Jeff. That was it. Really, like the space stuff. You were just like, because I liked it because it was different. You know, I appreciated that.
I was thinking, what in the world? You know, it's like, where did they come up with this? Like, where did they come up with this?
The way that you're feeling about that is how I felt about like when he walked out of the asylum in New York was just with sand all over it. And I'm like, I don't know where we're at. This can't be real. Cause like what's going on? So like that's where I was very hands up in the air, like just confused at.
Right, because it was New York and the sand. Did you think like, okay, is this Coney Island? Is he going to do the hot dog eating contest? Because if they want to spend an issue on that, that's fine. You know,
I just need to know.
You just didn't even. Yeah, no, I know, and I think that's something that I've seen in a more recent Moon Knight story, sort of the sort of blending of Egypt and New York, because that's sort of Egyptian Egypt of the past and things like that. But yeah, I know it definitely is like, oh, this is an interesting visual. You want to go ahead and explain it to us? Oh, not really. Okay, that's fine. And just for our audience at home, Kaitlin was having some internet problems, and that's why we lost her. It's not that we kicked her out or anything.
That's what happens when you don't pay your bill.
Right, exactly. So the question that I always like to ask when we discuss these things is, would you recommend this story? If you're talking about Moon Knight with someone and you go like, I actually just read this thing, would you say this is a good one to read? Or would you say, no, you should try and find something else? Or would you say, Moon Knight, why would you read Moon Knight? You should read Generation X and Gwen 13.
Gwen 13.
Is that I know I called her the wrong thing on purpose. I thought it would be funny. But for you, Michael, you wouldn't recommend it. You would say don't even read any Moon Knight ever.
No, I would say if you want to see like a crazy person like with a DID, like just watch United States of Terra. You'll get Captain Marvel. You'll get Toni Collette. It's that. Better. I like
that's
that
a better version of this story.
Yeah.
I was thinking Split.
The M. Night Shyamalan movie. Yeah. Would you read other Moon Knight stories for fun ever, or would you only really? Who would have to do a variant cover for you to buy? Because for people who don't know, Michael, variant covers make up a huge percentage of his collection. So, like an Alex Ross, it wouldn't be enough.
I mean, that character is very hard to visually really change up. It's got, it's white and black. It's just a lot of shading. Maybe something by like someone who did stuff with more of like an anime look, like a Guri Hiru, who I mentioned earlier, or like a Rose Besh, who did the incredible variant cover for Amazing Spider-Man #1 that came out, where it looks like a neon. It's like him going over the city with like neon everywhere. It's really cool. I'm trying to think of someone else. Like J. Scott Campbell, I don't think you'd really even know it without seeing a face. You know, his
and it always seems like because of his work on the 80s run, Bill Sienkiewicz is usually who they go to for all their Moon Knight variants and stuff, because his sort of dark style really lends itself to the character. But back to this book in particular, Jeff, are you interested enough to read more? Would you recommend it to people? What are your thoughts after reading these 14 issues?
I would definitely recommend it to other people. I would actually preface that I was like, if you want to intro into this storyline, into the understanding, I would tell them to watch the TV show first. I feel like that was a basic version of what this book is, because there was only 2.5 Stevens. Really, we met part of the third. There wasn't too many jumping in between storylines looking back onto it now, and it was like a casual introduction. This is, if I had no idea what Moon Knight was, the beginning is jarring. I wouldn't have a clue how to introduce it. Like, I wouldn't know what's going on. I probably would have just stopped and like, too much stuff is going on. I think a great intro was the TV show for me, and I would recommend it that way. Going forward, I definitely want to read more Moon Knight series and comics. I actually want to see I think he teams up with Spider-Man more often than not. So I want to see like who else he teams up with and check out those comics now.
A lot of Werewolf by Night. So if that sounds exciting to you, you can find some of that. But yeah, he, as I referenced earlier, I mean, he spent time as part of there were 2 Avengers teams at one point. The West Coast Avengers / Avengers West Coast. He was I remember him very much as Avengers West Coast, which he only ended up there because I think it was volume 2 ended up getting canceled just for not selling very well. It was called Mark Spector Moon Knight, and it didn't last that long. So they're like, he's a cool looking character. There's so much backstory. So they just stuck him on an Avengers team. He does not work well on a team. I think you're telling better stories when he's off on his own and his multiple personality disorder and everyone else who lives in his head. But I'm intrigued to see where this story went, but not as much as I mentioned last month. Reading the Doctor Strange Way the Weird, I actually read sort of the next arc that followed it and was very interested in seeing more of that. So I feel like I will read that probably before I'd read more of this. But I'm with Jeff in that, it's sort of gotten, for me, an appreciation of the character. So, you can find those lists when it's, 10 best Moon Knight stories, that sort of a thing. So I would like something that would be a little bit more self-contained, 4 to 6 issues. These 6 issues really didn't cover this story. So,
well, if you go back some volumes, you'll find some of those type of 4-issue.
Yeah. The volume 2 from 85, 86, that's the one that I read. That was the most Moon Knight that I had seen before he was part of the Avengers. So yeah, I think that I agree with your point, Jeff. I would tell people, it's good. It's beautiful. There's parts of it that are interesting. I do think you're right. It's too confusing of a starting point. So if you're talking to someone and their starting point is, I really liked the TV show, then you can just be like, well, I read this. You want to read 14 comics, you do that. If not, you can sit down with Michael and I and watch the Generation X TV movie from the 90s. That would probably work. Kate, we appreciate your efforts to getting yourself back here. Now
she had to go down to the Ralph's, pay her electricity bill. And
no, she was in space fighting the army of wolves.
I was.
She's back. Just to backtrack for a second, because the 3 of us all talked about it. Let's first get your thoughts on what was your least favorite part of the story, because that's kind of where you popped out, was when we were going around about that.
All the friends that were like that he saved and then like dropped off like weird flies.
Okay, yeah, that seems to be the consensus.
I was just like, what the fuck's the point of this shit?
His support staff of characters that you would only care about if you'd been reading Moon Knight since like the early 80s, and everybody that was important to him. Yeah, that seems to be the weakest part of this story.
Yeah.
But you know, it's also like, what, you're going to tell a story about Superman where he doesn't work at the Daily Planet? I mean, you could, but you also feel like people are going to kind of expect that, you know. Peter doesn't take pictures for J. Jonah Jameson anymore, you know.
No.
He's just
he's a
just
nature
taking
photographer.
selfies. Yeah. Well, now Peter's got a YouTube channel probably, but and then the other thing was, would you recommend this to someone interested in Moon Knight? And are you interested in reading more Moon Knight, either this run or just looking for other stories? What are your thoughts, sort of like overall?
Honestly, I'm more interested in following the artist than I am following this character.
Right.
That was more
We're
interesting.
talking about Greg Smallwood.
Yes. I'm more interested in following his art than the characters that were created, because I thought the art was more interesting.
Yeah.
The only Moon Knight I think I could be convinced into reading is the one where he beats the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, that was about 2 years ago.
And
it was in the pages of Avengers, and he steals the Iron Fist, not Danny Rand, but the actual fist.
Yeah.
He takes it from Danny. He gets Thor's hammer. I think he gets the Star Brand, and I forget, he gets like 4 or 5 things, and he helps Khonshu basically take over.
So he's worthy? He's worthy of Thor's hammer?
There's a way he gets around it, and it's more like, I read the section where he takes Thor's hammer, and I thought it was very interesting, because I had just also recently reread Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, which is just a bloodbath. And it capitalizes, and honestly, like, I think The Boys was based off of that.
Deadpool destroys the Marvel Universe. That
honestly
seems accurate,
because there's that weird like coffee, like all the Avengers are getting coffee and talking about like what to do about this threat. And I honestly think that somebody read that and went, what if this was an actual TV show and we didn't care about any of these people? This would be fun. And like that the villain was more interesting, and the villain was actually the hero, which Deadpool was in this case. Which was really cool. But anyway, sidetrack. I would just be curious to see how Moon Knight defeats all of these heroes, because it seems like, you know, they like doing these.
And that's just the first part of the story, because you know, Moon Knight is acting in bad faith, very clear from the beginning, because he's you know, working for Khonshu. So that was a great run. It was like 2 years ago, right about now, because there was like a cover that that I'll bring up while we're talking, that made me decide, like, I don't even care what's going on, I want this cover. And Michael, you can relate to that. And I thought that the story was actually great, so I did, and I continued so it worked, because I continued reading Avengers after that point. So yeah, I mean, that's sort of where we're at in terms of reading more. And Jeff, you look like you had a point.
Sorry, I know. When you brought it up, I was like, okay, I'm gonna look this up. And then when you said that you picked it because of the
cover,
the title, the cover, I looked at it. I was like, I think it's the same one I'm looking at, because right now he has Hulk's head in his hands. And I'm like, that is sick. So I'm about to buy it.
I'm so into it, right? Like, you know what I mean?
I'm looking at Amazon partly at the same time. Yeah, I'm gonna buy it as well. So that might be one of my next reads. And
if you haven't read Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, like, A+ storytelling, A+ macro storytelling. It's really, really great. So, you know, that's my.
That would be a cool way to introduce Deadpool and Deadpool 3. To the Marvel Universe.
Just have him destroy the Marvel Universe.
Well, it's the only one it's the only comic I've thrown across the room in like sheer terror / anger.
I mean, he could do that on his Earth, and then, you know, the Illuminati just have to like pick him up and then bring him to 616. So I'm
In
just throwing
terms of
ideas.
so you talked about you going on and continuing reading, Kate. Would you recommend this to someone, or would that be a no from you, dog?
I would. Was
That's a
that
Randy
on a
Jackson.
previous episode of Marvel Movie Talk where he called me Kid Dog? I don't remember.
I don't remember. I'm
No,
just,
that was a Randy Jackson.
He's riffing.
Yeah, I was just trying to be.
He's
I was just trying to be Randy.
riffing.
I was just trying to be Randy Jackson.
Stretch it
That's
out.
really all that was. Yeah.
Oh God! When we all get into a room together, a Zoom room.
A Zoom room, as it were. Yeah.
The Zoom room, as it were. I think honestly, I would recommend the beginning of it, and I do like the moment in the end with the crushing of Khonshu's head. But like some pieces in the middle, I'm just like, dear Christ, like So like, if you really want the full experience, read it, because the beginning is great. If you only want to read the first 6 issues and just get the lunatic experience, just do that.
You can also do that. Yeah, absolutely.
And if you listen to this podcast and we've spoiled everything for you anyway, you could just be like, cool, what's the first 6 issues? And then just skip to the 14th one and know that stuff happens. We did it. Go team.
Yeah. Stuff is definitely going to happen. Yeah, for sure.
That's literally how like my brother describes things. It's just like, and stuff happens and then it's over.
This was not the cover that I was looking
facts.
for, but this is a pretty good one, because you can see Moon Knight really taking down the mighty Thor. So yeah, it's around I believe it's around issue 33 from 2020. I was going to say from last year, but that's 2 years now. But yeah,
are we still going to be able to call him the mighty Thor in a month or so?
Of course, he's always mighty. He's always Thor. It's his
There's
name.
Another one though. There's another one.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just because something happens in the movies doesn't mean he's not still the mighty Thor.
It happened in the comic books too.
No, I know, but what do you think you think he's gone forever? It's like you think Elektra's going to always be Daredevil? I mean, it's although I'm sure the covers seem to sell better when she is. So you know what? Maybe Michael, how many Elektra variants have you bought in the last year? 0 or 20? Which number is closer?
None.
Oh,
0.
You don't. Did Jennifer Garner ruin that character for you?
No, I don't even buy that. She didn't look anything like. I mean, the outfit they introduced her in. I don't know why when they gave Daredevil that outfit, that they're not going to put her in like a ninja outfit. They put her in like a Coyote Ugly outfit. But I did really enjoy a story with Elektra recently. Dark Reign X-Men. I mean, Dark Reign was like this big, long Marvel event that was like every title almost. But the 3-issue, and it's Elektra, Kingpin, and Emma Frost are just the main 3 characters. And it was really good.
It doesn't basically it just takes Emma Frost for you, right? I mean, you don't really need much else for once you have Emma, they have your attention. Is that
put me off sometime, but sometimes I like that. I don't know.
Don't send me your hate mail, but her and Scott Summers is never something that I've been even remotely comfortable with. So I'm not interested.
I like.
Now this is, by the way, this is what Kate was talking about before. This specific cover of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. Is
that Vision, the third one?
Yeah, I was about to ask you that. I thought it was Nova.
Wait, go back up.
No, I think that you're talking about this. That looks like Adam Warlock. That third.
Okay.
If I'm just guessing, I don't actually know. Kate, you know the story. Is Adam Warlock in that?
You kicked her out.
Oh, I kicked her out.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, I didn't. Kick her
she
maybe kicked herself out.
Maybe
she just dropped the mic. Yeah, I might have actually. No, I don't think I could have, because I was too busy with the image. I'm not really sure what happened there, but
we'll go with she kicked herself out.
I think her phone died.
We'll go with that. But this is what I was looking at. That looks like Adam Warlock, that third one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see the hair now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know who it was.
All right, and now Kate is back.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. I don't know if I did it or I didn't, but that's all right.
Deadpool's killing my freaking Zoom feed.
Deadpool kills Caitlin's internet. In any case,
it's like, what'd you say about me? Only nice things. Okay. You're still
So
gonna die.
what I wanted to tell people is that please, you can we'll give you all of our social media and all that stuff. You can continue this conversation with us. You can leave comments on the YouTube page. We're always interested in hearing what people thought, especially if this conversation inspires you to buy it at some point. But
Or check it
what
out from your local library.
right, exactly. However you want to
Or
consume
get the
it,
subscription service.
just don't
Multidimensional.
steal PDFs of it from the internet. Somebody should, if you don't get it from your library, the creators should actually, they probably don't get royalties on digital. So what do I know? But what I did want to mention was that sometime the week of July the 10th, we don't have an exact date yet, but we will be sure to announce it. We will do our 4th episode of the Geekscape Book Club, and we will be in honor of the passing of the great George Perez. We will be looking at the 1986 post-crisis Wonder Woman, and I was told by a great source, my friend Jeff Winstead, who will be joining us, that it is again a 14-issue arc. So that's more than a month from now. So everyone will know that it's the 1986 Wonder Woman, and I believe they did reset with issue 1 at that point. But we'll get that out there. And I have read very few Wonder Woman stories, so I'm actually looking forward to seeing that. And just looking at George Perez's art is also something I'm looking forward to. But I believe that that'll be a 1-month trial subscription of DC Universe Infinite for me. But so I look forward to doing that. We were talking about, Kate, I think you inadvertently kind of stumbled into a great reading recommendation, which is Deadpool Destroys the Marvel Universe. I actually meant to Kills the Marvel Universe. Yeah, sorry. Fred Hembeck is the one who destroyed the Marvel Universe, which is a very different tale indeed. Little side recommendation for anybody who wants to read that. I wanted to recommend the new, it was last month, I meant to mention it, Amazing Spider-Man #1, the Zeb Wells, John Romita Jr. It is actually a very good starting point for someone who hasn't read Spidey in a while. And the last volume they did in like 2015. So they're like resetting these numbers much too soon. They didn't even get to 100 in volume like 5 or 6 before they went to this new volume. So that drives me crazy. And I know they always do their legacy numbering. We're about to hit 900 of Amazing Spider-Man. But even though we're about to get to 900, last month's was #1. Very confusing, I know, but it is. And John Romita Jr. did the artwork for Spider-Man when I started reading Amazing Spider-Man, so it touches me in all the right places. Michael, you were talking about you were talking about the big crossover that involved everybody. But do you have something specific that you really?
Well, that was Kate, right? You're talking
about
you
were talking about whatever the rain was. Yeah.
I thought you meant the one Kate was been talking.
No, I don't think that started yet.
It just came out this week.
Dark Crisis.
Dark Crisis, yeah.
Do I have any recommendations?
Yeah, do you have something that you've read lately that you're just like, hey, people should check this out? This was really good. And by lately, I mean, in the last couple months that we have talked about.
I'm reading on this.
Hell yeah.
Josie and the Pussycats. You had a great point on social media not too long ago that why have we not gotten the Pussycats in Outer Space movie that we all deserve?
I mean, that would be like a turnout, kind of like a Romy and Michelle 2 kind of a movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
that would break.
Who in the cast would say no to it? I think Rosario Dawson could be convinced. And Tara Reid, she's going to say no, No.
It's more about like everyone saying no to her, like get a different Pussycat.
Yeah, can we replace Tara Reid?
But I wouldn't recommend buying it from some random person telling you it's new when it's clearly got a mark on it and like every edge looks like it's been thrown against a wall, so you have to complain and get half your money back. I'd buy it at Amazon or like in your local comic book store.
Yeah. I wouldn't. Personally, I don't know that I would need a Josie and the Pussycats collection, but that's just me.
That's what's great about this book. It's
from
their
strangers.
best hits, and it's really vibrant. really,
That's the lesson
really
for the
fun.
kids in the audience. Don't take comics from strangers. Jeff, we've established that, you're sort of new to checking things out. Is there something you've heard about? Maybe we've talked about anything. You're like, well, it seems like you just bought Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. So, but is there anything you've heard about? Like, oh, I want to read more, or characters that you've seen on TV, movies, somewhere recently that you're like, I probably would like to read more about this character.
Yeah, I want to learn more about Kamala Khan. That's the easy one.
Yeah.
And then also Secret Wars. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to read first because there's two different. It seems like there's two different storylines.
There's multiple, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I don't think the one with Doctor Doom is going to happen in the 616 because he hasn't even been introduced yet.
Don't
so
we mean like the 199999?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like what was I gonna say? But like the merging of the Earths one, that seems more realistic because I think that's what wasn't Kane talking about that in Loki?
Yeah.
The
more recent Secret Wars that lifted the plot of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it has to be blatant for me to be giving credit to DC for Marvel stealing their idea. That's how bad it has to be. The original Secret Wars from 1985 isn't going to impact anything, but it's a nice self-contained story where like almost everyone except like Daredevil is in it. And and I loved it. It was when I was first reading comics.
Wait,
and
isn't that because he like dies like right before?
No, he just
who is that one where they're all at the funeral? The cover's just like
I know the one you're talking about, but I don't think he was actually dead at that point. So there you go. And if you have recommendations for Jeff, where can people send you those recommendations, Jeff?
Yes, please slide in my DMs at Jeff Will Jr. on all social media platforms.
I love that you have it on all social media platforms. And Michael, if people want to know what you're up to and keep tabs on you at 3 a.m, how do they do that?
You can find me on Instagram at I Hate Michael Shirley. I don't have that multiple platform thing going on, so I can't really take my Twitter seriously because they don't allow that many characters. But you can find me on Twitter at Michael X Shirley.
And,
new thing.
And Kate, where can people keep in touch with you?
People can find me at Cornellable, CornellAble on all platforms.
You can find me only on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. And if you've enjoyed our conversation, you on the Blattcast YouTube channel, BLADTCAST, you'll find the show that we do most weeks, Marvel Movie Talk, and we're currently going episode by episode as they release of the new Ms. Marvel show. So if you're interested in that, please find us over there. Subscribe to the Blattcast YouTube channel. And of course, subscribe to the Geekscape YouTube channel and the myriad of podcasts out there, including the Weird Algorithm podcast, where they go through song by song the discography of Weird Al. And I'm in negotiations to possibly appear on that at some point in the near future, but we'll see how it goes. We appreciate everybody who joined us, and we look forward to talking to all of you next month when we talk about Wonder Woman. But we appreciate it. Thanks to Matt Kelly, Jonathan London, and everybody over at Geekscape for giving us a home for our monthly chat. And we'll see you next time. Until then, I still don't have a good sign off, but
keep on reading.
Keep on reading. keep your feet on the ground and the books in your hands. Just like me and Jeff Williams Jr. All right. Good night, everyone.